Ladies and gentlemen, you guys know that I advocate for nuclear families, not nuclear, but nuclear families, like nuclear. Mother and father in the household raising their children under one roof. We need to get back to this. I think it is crucial for the dynamic of our family structure in the United States of America. It's a great social construct in order to help us build better families, okay? But us having children outside of wedlock is not a great place for us to continue to keep going down this path. It's breaking us up. It's causing us to have more division and us to not be able to co-parent the way that we should to be able to raise these children so they can grow up and become something great. We believe that babies' lives matter. We also believe that biological fathers should have every opportunity to help raise their children when they are law-abiding citizens, when they're not breaking the law, and when they're not hurting their children. They also should, there already should be a cloak on the fathers to show that, hey, this is a good man, this is a good father, which means we should be vetting these people from the jump. That also means that mothers, before you decide to accept the seed from a man and procreate with a man, you should know who you're procreating with. Do a background check. Why is that so hard for so many people? Why do so many people hear my words, but they don't go out and go get background checks? Especially when you have a face like this. That just looks like the type of face that you just don't want to leave your children around somebody that looks like this. Okay? Louisville, Kentucky. A Jeffersonville father accused of abusing his infant son pleads for home incarceration. Listen to this. Now, according to court documents obtained by the news, Jalen Casey's 3-month-old son was taken to Norton Children's Hospital last month with some serious injuries. Casey, 26 years old, is behind bars at the Clark County Jail, charged with abusing a child. These injuries were allegedly inflicted on his infant on or about June 28th of this year, Clark County prosecuting attorney Jeremy Mole said. Those court documents say that the child's mother thought he was having an allergic reaction to a new pacifier, his bottle or formula, but then an investigation was conducted, right? It became clear to the investigators that the child had been battered and had not sustained accidental injuries. He had not sustained accidental injuries. This was no accident. This was done with intent and purpose. I want y'all to remember that and remember his face. Prosecutors said that the child had a fractured rib, bruising and swelling to the eyes, and injuries to the nose and lips. There's no joy in saying that I was right, said Mole. On Thursday, Casey had his initial court hearing by way of Zoom. Prosecutors asked the judge to revoke his bond in a different child abuse case from 2020. Whoa. Can we go back just for a moment? Go back. Where was the biological mother when all of this was going on? Did this all happen at one time? Let's look at one thing first. How do you correlate an allergic reaction to a pacifier to equivocating it to a broken rib and a newborn baby and a child? Somebody please help me break this down. Because y'all know I'm not the brightest crayon in the box. I probably would be, maybe a brown or a navy blue. Because I'm not the brightest crayon in the box, right? I'm not the fastest turtle in a race. Y'all know I do the best that I can to try to break these things down. Pacifier, broken ribs. Pacifier, bottle or formula, broken ribs, bruises, busted lip. You just can't be that level of dumb. It's very hard to be that stupid. But let's move on. He also said that they asked the judge to revoke his bond in a different child abuse case from 2020. Do y'all remember me saying that? A different case, not even the same case. So here's where we have to put a little bit of the blame on the mom. Mom would have had to have known that this man already had a pending child abuse case. As a mother, how do you not know this? How do you not do a background check? How do you just leave your child around somebody and you don't do a background check? When you do a background check, you do it whenever you send your child to daycare, do you not? Do you not check on the daycare and the workers and find out whether they're an accredited daycare? Why would you not do that for somebody who you leave your child around? Why did you leave your child around him? I'm going to say it again. They asked the judge to revoke his bond in a different child abuse case. So this is a second child abuse case that we know about. 2020 is going on more than a year ago. Almost 2 years ago. Depending on when it happened, let's just say it happened in January of 2020. We'd be a year and 7 months, almost 2 years past. A year and a half. How do you have a child abuse case that's pending for that long? And he was out on bond. Oh! Woo! This makes my blood boil. You know there's usually terms and conditions when you're let out on bond, right? Am I right or am I wrong? Usually there are terms and conditions. I would assume that if the judge in Louisville, Kentucky were a smart judge, they would have put that in the verbiage and said, you know what? Because you are out on bond and you want to be let out on bond and you probably made bond, paid a cash bond or paid a bail bondsman, whatever you did, you cannot be around children. Should that not be a stipulation that makes sense? Yes? So I'm going to assume, not having the documents in front of my face, that it was probably in his agreement that he couldn't be around the victim or any children. Supervised or not supervised. That would mean that not only he broke the stipulation of his bond, which is why they're asking for the bond to be revoked, because now there is another child who is hurt or injured. Maybe it's the same child. We don't know. But there is a second case. But if you knew that, then if he were out on bond, then that means this mother should have known that he was out on bond. But you know why we aren't so diligent about figuring these things out and just put our children around anybody and everybody that mothers like to just sleep with? Because they're more concerned about their own personal pleasures, and that's selfish. That is a selfish thing. There's no way around calling it then that is selfish because you didn't put your child first. Somebody looked at that man and said that he is the most awesome thing ever. He is the most sexually attractive man ever, and I must have this man. This is one of the most attractive men and one of the best and most available men in all of Louisville, Kentucky. There was nobody else that you could have went out and got except for Jalen Casey, right? He was the only choice. That is a case where he is out on bond from a case that occurred last year where a different infant was allegedly battered by him and he was released on bond in that case. So it's two different babies. But somehow I'm wrong. Somehow I'm the fraud. Somehow I'm misusing and abusing my chat room and people of the AFC. Somehow it's something wrong with me for speaking facts about these stories and giving my opinion about these assholes who hurt children. How in the F word do you abuse a child, go to jail, get out on bond, and you get to be around another child? How? How? Why and how? But you know what's funny? People think my analogy about the Thug Zoo, I think some people here at the AFC, like Miss June and so many other people, and shout out to you, by the way, know my analogy fits perfectly when we talk about the Thug Zoo. And again, when I talk about thugs, we're not talking about skin color. We're talking about an action. When I call him a thug, that means two different mothers, two different children were taken to the Thug Zoo by their mother, and they looked at this little thug lion and they thought he was the cutest, cuddliest little lion in the world. And they was like, you know what? I sure would like to play with that lion. And they took their children and said, you know what, little baby, my little innocent, defenseless, can't speak for yourself, can't defend yourself, little baby, I'm going to leave you in the thug lion cage. I know this man wouldn't hurt you because he likes to have sex with me. That's the reason why I solely believe that he will not hurt you. He is a good man. He is a good man because I like him. No other reason. So I'm going to take my child and leave him in the thug lion cage. You walk off and leave your child in the thug lion cage. And it's in the lion's nature to attack. And you come back all sad and wondering why this thug lion behaved like a lion and mauled your kid and almost murdered your kid. Hashtag, when you date thugs, you date death. Thank you, Leanne. Does this not fit perfectly? If you hurt children, you are a thug. End of story. Life in prison. Hashtag TTT and TTO. Let me ask you guys this. For the person who decides to take their children to the Thug Zoo, why aren't we arresting them for putting their children in danger? The first mother I could understand because she might not have known, and this might have been his first time ever abusing a baby, abusing a child. That I can understand. But he's out on bond. How do you not know he's out on bond? And you're around a different mother, around a different kid. She didn't do a background check on you. You get to be around this kid knowing it is not in the policy of your bond to be around small children. Violate that bond, violate this kid, The mom didn't bother to check and find out. There was no reason for the mother to leave her kid around this fool. Huh? And we won't hold the person accountable for putting their children in dangerous, precarious situations. Now, prosecutors say that Casey is a danger to society and his children. And they said his children, that sounds like plural. Maybe both of these children were his. Despite their objection, Casey was released after posting a $5,000 bond in that 2020 case. That's how much Louisville cares about children. I'm going to say it again. That's how much Louisville cares about children. You wouldn't have got away with that in Texas. If you are accused or we have evidence that proves that you hurt a baby, you shouldn't get a bond. There should be no bond. When you hurt children who can't speak for themselves nor defend themselves, that should be a thing where everybody should be terrified to commit crimes against children. I've heard of people having higher bonds for stealing stuff out of Walmart. Let alone almost causing the death of a baby. And you get a $5,000 bond? That's Louisville for you. That's how much Louisville cares about children. You can tell them I said so. Because they're not going to change the damn laws, apparently. They're not going to take this thing seriously, apparently. They said this is one of those cases that makes me profoundly sad as a prosecutor. That the bond was reduced and now we have another infant child who sustained a very serious injury by someone who we argued should have remained in jail. At the end of the Thursday's hearing, Casey addressed the court by saying, "Your Honor, I'd just like 60 seconds to go over an incident that happened this morning." I want y'all to listen to this. Let me see if I can get his face back up on the screen. I want y'all to listen to what he told the judge. Listen at this. He told the judge that after a news story aired about his case, he was surrounded by other jail inmates. He was threatened and forced to push an emergency button for help. Casey also told the judge that he is a great dad and pleaded to be released on strict home incarceration. By the way, shout out to those jail inmates who believe babies' lives matter. Can somebody put that in the chat? Y'all see I got this big old shirt. It is in big bold letters. You can see this from a mile away. Babies' lives matter. Shout out to the jail inmates who know the difference between an innocent, defenseless baby. I don't even like that. I love that. Because there should be a code. Especially for our babies. In addition to calling him a danger, prosecutors said he's also a flight risk, which I agree. I absolutely believe that he should have not been out of jail and this situation wouldn't have happened. Judge Vicky Carmichael set his bond at $200,000 in the new case. Casey is also scheduled to be back in court on Monday for a bond revocation hearing in the 2020 case. Let me give y'all the fair usage before I say something that might get me flagged. Let's get it. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. Y'all want to do me a favor and please click that thumbs up. Help share this stream and let more people know that we're here talking about this story. And while y'all are at it, Can somebody type hashtag general population in the chat? Hashtag Gen Pop. Let's get it.
Father accused of abusing his infant son pleads for home incarceration.
WDRB's Stefan Johnson explains why the man says he should be released. Stefan?
According to court documents, Jalen Casey's 3-month-old son was recently taken to the hospital with some serious injuries. Right now, Casey's locked up and charged with abusing the child, but at his initial hearing today, he told the judge he's a great dad and not safe in jail. The latest child abuse investigation involving 26-year-old Jalen Casey started after his 12-week-old son was taken to Norton Children's Hospital last month.
These injuries were allegedly inflicted on this infant on or about June the 28th of this year.
According to these court documents obtained by WDRB News, the child's mother thought he was having an allergic reaction to a new pacifier, his bottle or formula, but then there was an investigation.
It became clear to the investigators that the child had been battered and had not sustained accidental injuries.
According to court documents, the child had a fractured rib, bruising and swelling to the eyes, and injuries to the nose and lips.
There's no, joy in saying I was right.
On Thursday, Casey had his initial hearing via Zoom, where prosecutors asked the judge to revoke his bond in a different child abuse case from last year.
And that is the case where he is out on bond from a case that occurred last year where a different infant was allegedly battered by him, and he was released on bond in that case.
Clark County Prosecutor Jeremy Mole says Casey is a danger to society and his children, and despite his objection, Casey was released after posting a $5,000 bond in the 2020 case.
This is one of those cases that makes me profoundly sad as a prosecutor that the bond was reduced, and now we have another infant child who sustained a very serious injury by someone who we argued should have remained in jail.
At the end of Thursday's hearing, Casey addressed the court saying, quote, "Your Honor, I'd like 60 seconds to go over an incident that happened this morning." He then told the judge after a news story aired about his case, he was surrounded by other inmates, threatened, and forced to push an emergency button for help. He also told the judge he's a great dad and pleaded to be released on strict home incarceration. And the judge set bond at $200,000 in the new case. And Casey is scheduled to be back in court on Monday for a bond hearing in the other case. I'm Stefan Johnson, WDRB News.
New tonight at 5, an Indiana man is in jail tonight after he was arrested for the second time for alleged battery and neglect of his own child. Jalen Casey appeared for his initial hearing today in Clark County. Our Southern Indiana reporter Elle Smith spent the day asking the question that many are wondering: how did this happen twice?
That's my point. Do y'all think this was an accident? That it happened 2 different times? You might have an argument if it happened once. You have no argument if 2 babies were abused by you. 2 different, separate human being babies.
Jalen Casey is a name Clark County Prosecutor Jeremy Mole did not want to see on his desk again.
I was profoundly disappointed that Mr. Casey had been allowed to bond out.
On Tuesday, Jalen Casey of Jeffersonville was arrested for neglect and battery of his 12-week-old son. Today, he appeared in court for his initial hearing, but his story doesn't start there. It all started last fall when Casey was arrested and charged with seriously injuring his 7-week-old daughter. At the time, Casey said he had fallen with her, but later admitted to shaking the baby when she wouldn't stop crying, telling a detective, "I didn't intentionally hurt my daughter, and I would never do anything to hurt her. I would like to say she got hurt, and it was an accident."
I'm going to rewind this so y'all can hear this again. I want y'all to listen at what he did to this little girl. Listen at this. And this is a man who says he thinks of himself as a good father. Matter of fact, if anything happens to my kids, I'd be like, no, it's my fault. If my daughter gets a bad grade in school, it's my fault. If my daughter gets in trouble, I always say it's my fault. I feel like I failed as a father. What father, what man, what grown-ass man will have the unmitigated gall to say that they're a good father when their children end up getting hurt? Listen to this again.
When Casey was arrested and charged with seriously injuring his 7-week-old daughter. At the time,
7 weeks. Can I give a shout out to my daughter's mom? Do y'all mind if I do that real quick? Shout out to my daughter's mom. My daughter's mom went into the mommy bear mode, mommy bear, when we first had our daughter. And she was very protective. I don't think my daughter got a chance to stay at my house. I think it was like maybe the 2nd month before she just started staying at my house with me by myself. Because it's a lot of responsibility. And I have to shout her out for being as protective over my baby as she was. I think it was about 6 to 8 weeks before my daughter started staying at my house, at my apartment, just me and her. Listen at this. 7 weeks old.
Battery of his 12-week-old son. Today, he appeared in court for his initial hearing, but his story doesn't start there. It all started last fall when Casey was arrested and charged with seriously injuring his 7-week-old daughter. At the time, Casey said he had fallen with her, but later admitted to shaking the baby when she wouldn't stop crying.
How do you stop a child from crying? By shaking it. I want y'all, let's just put our common sense hats on just for a moment. Think about this. If a man were in a relationship with a woman and that woman started crying, would it make sense to shake that woman? Take her and shake her? Stop crying. Stop crying. Would you do that to your wife, your girlfriend? It's just sometimes common sense should kick in and tell you this probably doesn't make sense. If you can't slap your wife, you can't slap a baby. If you can't shake your wife, you can't shake a baby. If you can't choke your wife, you can't choke a baby. If you can't starve your wife, you can't starve a baby. Huh?
Was seriously injuring his 7-week-old daughter. At the time, Casey said he had fallen with her, but later admitted to shaking the baby when she wouldn't stop crying, telling a detective, "I didn't intentionally hurt my daughter, and I would never do anything to hurt her. I would like to say she got hurt, and it was an accident." Norton Children's Hospital's forensic team classified Casey's daughter's injury a near fatality due to the severity of the injuries.
We ask for a high cash bond. We try to keep that person in jail to protect the community, to protect other children, and that's what we did in this case.
A judge lowered his bond from $50,000 to $5,000 cash, and he was released. But last week, Casey and the mother of his child arrived at Norton's Hospital again, this time with their 12-week-old son, and immediately doctors knew something wasn't right. According to the probable cause, the baby had multiple yellow and brown bruises on his back, a broken rib, abrasions across his eyelids, cheeks, and nose. This time, the probable cause affidavit states Casey offered several explanations to police that were not consistent with the injuries of the infant child. And now he's facing additional charges of neglect and battery.
It's just one of the things that can happen when someone is out on bond on a case where, we've argued that they should remain, and these situations can arise where an individual has access to a child and the child can be injured.
Casey appeared for his initial hearing today, where the judge ordered him to have no contact with the victim nor children under 16 and his...
You hear that? No contact with the victim, no contact with children under the age of 16. So that would mean if he got a bond the first time, then that's probably similar to what his bond would have been like as far as his as far as the terms and conditions. So again, you would have to point to the mother, the second mother, and say, how was he able to get away with being around another kid? Why do these mothers sleep with men like this? Stupid is as stupid thugs.
Ordered him to have no contact with the victim nor children under 16, and his bail was set at $200,000 cash only. For WHAS 11 News, I'm Elle Smith.
This is a case where we had advocated that this defendant remain in jail, and unfortunately that didn't happen.
Jalen Casey, it's a name and case Clark County prosecutor Jeremy Mull hasn't forgotten. In October 2020, Casey was arrested and charged with seriously injuring his 7-week-old daughter. A judge lowered his bond from $50,000 to $5,000 cash. Casey got out of jail and was rearrested Tuesday. This time, the victim, Mull says, was his young son, just 12 weeks old.
As a prosecutor, that does make me angry. It makes me disappointed. And hopefully this time around, we can keep this bond high and make sure that no one else gets hurt.
Last fall, Jalen Casey told police he had fallen with his infant daughter while walking into a dark bedroom. Later, he admitted to shaking her when she wouldn't stop crying, telling a detective, "I didn't intentionally hurt my daughter, and I would never do anything to hurt her. It was an accident. I didn't mean to hurt her."
But this time around, when Jalen Casey spoke with police, things went a little different. According to police, he offered several explanations, but none of them, according to doctors, were consistent with the baby's injuries.
In fact, the mother of both children told Jeffersonville police she thought their son was simply having an allergic reaction. But doctors say there was bruising, swelling, even a fractured rib. Mull's office argued before a judge that Casey is a danger not only to his kids, but the community, and pleaded for a $200,000 cash bond, which she agreed to.
Our mission is going to remain the same in this case, and that is to hold him accountable, to try to prove him guilty of these allegations, and if that's done, to try to obtain a significant prison sentence.
In Jeffersonville, Lauren Adams, WLKY.
Let me go ahead and give you guys my closing thoughts real quick. My closing thoughts about this is, again, maybe the first mother didn't know that this dude was like this. I can always give a little bit of credit when you jump into a situation and you didn't really know what you were getting into. But for this man to go to jail over what he did, to get out of jail on bond, to get with another woman, potentially make a baby by her, because they said both of his children, and he does the same thing, and she didn't even check to find out that he was out on bond and shouldn't have been around any children under the age of 16 years old, is a failure on the mother's parts. I don't understand what they see in this person. What is it about his characteristics? And this is what I want the mothers to think. So I'm glad that we have so many awesome women, like my women in the chat, that listen with an open mind and an open heart. And all I'm saying is, if you look at a man like this, if you know a man like this, look at their characteristics. Look at the things that are attracting you to men like this. Write them down, put them in your head, and say to yourself, this is what I'm attracted to. This is what I need to avoid. What is attractive about a thug who would hurt your children, who would hurt you, who would kill you, who would shoot you, end your life? What's so attractive about that? I know that our women in America and around the world have much better common sense than that, have a better sense of judgment than that, and it doesn't apply to all. But this is happening too often, and I want this situation to be reduced to zero. I want no more children to be hurt. I want no children to end up disappeared. I want no more people to be hurting children. They can't speak for themselves, nor can they defend themselves. And we at the AFC believe that all children's lives matter. Please take care of your children, and please make better decisions before you procreate and accept the seed of a thug. It's not worth it. And we deserve better. You deserve better. Do better by yourself and do better by your children. And if we continue to replicate better behavior, better choices, better judgment, because we should be judging. Use better judgment. Maybe it's because there's a lot of people out there that believe, well, the Bible says that I shouldn't judge. So that means I shouldn't have judged him on his record or judged him on his horrible behavior. Just saying. Judge not, lest thou be judged. That means have a standard. Judge righteously. Very simple. I love all of you guys. I pray for justice for these babies. And I pray that Louisville would get their heads out of their behinds and start taking these children cases seriously. All right? From my heart to yours, I love you all. Thank you all. And thank you so much. And I'm glad these children survived. And let's pray that they can grow up and become something great. We'll see y'all on the next stream, okay? Peace.